My name is Fiso Zondi, aka Mancinza. My main strength that I have is doing poetry, and I've realized that strength while growing up, that I'm a poet in a way that I write, in a way that I inspire people in speaking. So Fiso is a person who likes seeing people being developed in a good way and doing research about the past, about the roots and Africanism. I love seeing the nation being united. We as a people, we have to change the way that people see things, and by poetry I've seen that I can touch many people. Whenever I recite, I know that there's some people which come back to me with feedback and tell me the way I recite heals them, the way I recite make them change the way they see things that happen.
Fiso is a very good poet, and other people may know him as Mancinza. The first time Gimazi Ngambona a studio and was working on a project, which is also coming soon, by the way, and I can attest that Fiso is going to give you guys a very nice project.
Ziyathandeka impela ziyakha sinayo yonke into siqukethe yonke into umqondo nje kahle siqukethe yonke imessage moyilalela ngisho uphatheka kabuhlungu ugcina uzojabula ungalindelanga.
Sanibona. My name is Hlanzeka Ngubane. I'm going to be talking about Fiso. Well, Fiso is a very outspoken guy. He's very easygoing and umuntu okhulekile kahle kahle. Well, poetry ya Fiso ngokwami it's very like uplifting and neza like mostly youth ithemba with their self-hope.
Greetings guys, I go by the name of Funeka Mtiane. I'm a third year student in the Durban University of Technology, which is where I know Fiso from. We're doing the same course, we're in the same class. He's a very great person, and he also does poetry. He would send it to us sometimes, we'd listen to it, and it's very informative. It motivates us sometimes. It is something I would recommend that you guys listen.
Me realizing that I'm a poet, it was a great experience because many things have changed in my life, realizing that I'm a poet. So it started when I was a kid. So growing up, I was in an environment which then our parents, like my uncle, I used to stay at my mom's. So my uncle, whenever he came back from work, he used to play R&B music, sometimes hip-hop. And whenever I went to my friends, the same thing was playing, the same music was playing. So us as kids, we used to watch at their music videos. At the time, it was CDs. So we used to watch at that and jam to the music, and we used to sing and mime behind the music that's playing on television. So we started like performing the music for the people, like the elders in the house. So we started like reciting and writing our own music at that time. At that time, I think I was like 9 years old. We started wishing that we'd like to be like those people who are making people happy on the television. So we started like reciting. Every time we came back from school, we wrote some stuff, some work. As we rhymed, there's something special happen every time. Like whenever, even like in a community, whenever a person is passing, adults or young, they used to stop and listen and tell us, hey, we have great potential in what we are doing. At that time, I saw that this is worthwhile. I can make a living from it. But my parents did not like the way we were doing things because we were very young at that age. And they thought it will be a big distraction in our school journey. So I had to stop and continue with my school journey. But as me being a poet, I knew that I wouldn't like give up on that dream, because it was my dream, it's my passion. Whenever I try and sit when I'm in a bad space, only poetry heals me. And when I write something, I know something is going to shake. The poetry in Mancinza, I see it as a platform which has been blocked from the people to see the good in it, because it comes with very huge impacts in the world, which the government is trying to improve the youth, because the youth is the future. We cannot deny that. So in poetry you find everything, like the information, the background of the country, the history of the country, the heritage of the country, finding yourself in poetry, and like the nature that we live in Africa and in the whole world. So poetry makes people find themselves. Like when they're in bad situation in a bad space, they listen to poetry, they get healed, they find solutions in the poetry. So I feel like in Mancinza they're blocking a huge platform for poetry industry. We have many different genres out here in Africa, but the only genre that they're blocking is poetry. I feel like poetry can make a difference in the world if the poetry is given the platform that is supposed to be given, like being played in radio stations, being in the top 10s, or like being hired or being called when there are big events which are called by government. So yeah, I want to change many things in poetry. Like I want to see poetry going in the radio stations. I want to see poets getting features from big artists. I want to see poets doing their big events and calling each other. I want to see a young person looking up to a poet as a role model, because in poetry, like, you find all type of things that they do in dignity and respect. They don't just talk any words, which sometimes we find vulgar languages in other genres. We find naked women, we find people doing drugs in front of young kids in television, but then in poetry we come with a message. We come with a different perspective, a different way of changing the way that people look at the world. Like we come with that the youth must be the future. They must look at the history, they must look at their forefathers and their grandfathers, the way they used to live, the way they wanted them to be, because we do our research well when we do poetry. And I want to see that happening. I want to see that the kids listening to that, not being like us, which we are exposed to this industry of hip-hop and other stuff, like of music, like house, drum, piano, and all those stuff of genres. I'm not saying that they're not good. There are some songs that are good, but most of them are just showing the kids which the things that they are not supposed to know. For my craft, I get much support from my friends, especially the ones that are more in the university and in my community, which I grew up with. And also I get support from my family, some of my family. And I don't know if some of my family members don't even know that I do poetry, because I don't talk about it much, because I know they won't easily allow me. But the person who I know, which the funniest part, my mother, she only knew when I went to the radio interview. Like I posted a poster that I was given by another radio presenter, that I asked them to put me in a slot for an interview. So they called me to recite for Workers' Day. I posted that on WhatsApp for my fans and fellow siblings and my peers to know that I'm going on a radio station and they must tune in. So I heard my mother asking me how are you going on a radio? And she was laughing. She didn't believe that I'm going on a radio station. So yeah, I said I'm going to the radio station. She supported me. She said I must try and do my best. I must talk nice on radio. I must be a true reflection of the background that she gave me. And the way she taught me, I must carry myself in the community. I must pass that to the other people, for them to know the actual meaning of life, the actual way to live with people, the actual meaning to work with people and do things in a more respectful and dignified way. So that's what I gave them at that time, and I'm very happy that I get that type of support from the closest person, like my mother. She understands me. I feel like she understands this journey that I'm in. Every time I go somewhere, she knows, like she asks me that will I be able to recite, and that like in what type of condition. She makes sure that I'm in the right space. Like she'll try even fix like the best meal before I even go to the show, for me to be right emotionally, to be there and do my best. Every time I do stuff, she tell me like, you must recite what makes people grow. You must change the way people think, because that's what she fed me. So she'd like me to pass it on to the whole generation. Like I feel like she's that mother of the nation, because what I recite most of the time is the way I was taught life is. So yeah, I like to pass that. I like to share it with the other people. Like concerning the cure of the country, like I see this country as a state that is not like ready to accept the truth that we are not like in the space that we are supposed to be as the humans, which are naturally here from Africa. Like as Africans, especially the previously disadvantaged people in the country, they're not given what is supposed to be theirs, like the land and what was really theirs in the past. Like that is not the way that people are supposed to be treated, because like previously, like when we look back in history, like our forefathers were fighting for their freedom. Freedom is what is theirs, like free in their land. They're supposed to be free in their land. They're supposed to be called what they know is their land, their land. So with us not even having that back to us, like we given that, but we know that we're given freedom. Freedom is not freedom. Freedom is what we'd like to hear at this time, like what they're gonna tell us is freedom, so we're supposed to hear. But what we feel like is freedom is not really the freedom that we're given. Even in the industry, like with us as poetry, we try every time to recite. Every time we recite, we talk about these main things that are not happening in the country. We talk about the government. We talk about the unsatisfaction that is happening in our country, and the people don't even realize that they are the states. With them like uniting and being together, we can take down the government and tell them we don't like what they're doing, so they have no other choice but to change what they're doing. And we have like boundaries that block you if you recite in that type of way, because in the states, like we not really true about ourselves. We act as if everything is alright when we're driven by the system in that direction. So we have to like we have to accept everything. Like I believe that my vote has to change something. Like I have a right to say something. I have a right to say no to things that I don't like. But then people accept everything because the government like made a speech on television. So we have to accept whatever they say to us. And as a state, we have to change the way we think, because we are the states and the government is not our master. The government is our servant actually. So we have to tell them what we want. We have to tell them the change we want, the change we need as Africans, and stop this way of living that we have to accept the system which we don't know who even wrote their system, because like the people don't like most of the stuff that is happening out there.